Welcome to the deep dive. You send us the sources, we pull out the key insights. Simple as that, helping you get informed without all the noise.
And today we're looking at something really interesting. You sent in an episode from HappyTalk.in's podcast. It's called Harmony Radio and IELTS Listening Mastery.
Exactly. We've got excerpts from this episode and our mission today. Unpack it all for you.
Right. We're looking for the big takeaways on, well, how local media can build community, some advanced vocabulary.
Grammar points, yeah. And maybe most importantly, some really solid strategies for boosting those IELTS listening skills.
Yeah.
Should be some aha moments, hopefully.
Definitely. Let's start with that happy story they shared about Harmony Radio in Oregon. It's a great example of, local voices making a real difference.
Okay, so Harmony, the town, was feeling a bit, well, isolated.
Yeah, not much local news, no real hub for sharing stories or, just what's going on.
That community feel was missing.
Right. And the spark came from a 19-year-old music fan, Ava.
At a town meeting, wasn't it?
Yeah. She suggested a community radio station, share local music, stories.
And I guess some people were like, a radio station now? What about the cost?
Exactly. But Ava apparently made a really persuasive case, said if they worked together, they could figure it out. And that's where things really kicked off.
So Harmony Radio starts taking shape. The name itself, Harmony, kind of says it all, doesn't it?
It does. And they were smart. They used the HappyTalk.in community forum to, crowdsource show ideas.
Oh, that's clever. Get people involved from the get-go.
Yeah, shows like Harmony Tunes for local bands, Town Talk for, local issues.
And how do they approach businesses?
They framed it as a way for businesses to amplify their connection with the town, really boost their local presence.
Smart. But I bet getting it actually running wasn't easy. Hurdles.
Oh, absolutely. Big ones. Equipment costs, sorting out broadcasting licenses. You know how it is.
They've got the practical stuff.
But the source says they used HappyTalk.in's project planning guides, and they put out little promo clips using the platform, too, building buzz.
Resourceful. And didn't a local cafe chip in?
Yeah. Donated studio space. Amazing.
Yeah.
And volunteers learned the tech side using HappyTalk.in tutorials.
Really shows that community effort.
Totally. Even Ava's dad, Mr. Lopez, got involved. Started a show about town history, roots of harmony.
Love that. So the launch,
Yeah.
How did it go after all that work?
Big success. After about 8 months, they launched with a live music festival.
Nice.
And get this, 1,500 listeners in the first week.
Wow, for a local station, that's huge.
Yeah, now it airs daily, lots of shows fostering connection. There's a quote from a listener, Jake.
What did he say?
"The station's like a warm hug for our town."
Ah, that's lovely. Really captures the impact. And Ava's secret sauce.
She just said it was about listening and communicating clearly. Simple, but, powerful.
Yeah. And Harmony Radio becomes this sort of blueprint for other small towns.
Exactly. A real model for unity.
Okay, great story. Now let's pivot. The podcast episode also dug into vocabulary specifically for people aiming high on IELTS, like band 6.5 to 8.0.
Right, the vocabulary focus. And they did it cleverly, using words from the Harmony Radio story itself. So you learn them in context. There were 10 words.
10 keywords. Let's run through them. First one, hurdle, meaning like a challenge or obstacle.
Yeah, like funding was a big hurdle for the radio station.
Okay. Number 2, amplify. To boost something, increase its impact.
So local business support helped amplify the station's reach. Make sense?
Third word, infectious. Like when enthusiasm spreads easily.
Ava's energy for the project was described as infectious. You can imagine that.
Definitely. Fourth, crowdsource. Getting ideas or help from a large group.
Which is what they did for show ideas. They crowdsourced them using the forum.
Fifth is vibe. Just the general mood or atmosphere.
Right. Sharing the town stories and positive vibe. Casual word, but useful.
Number 6, blueprint. A model or plan you can follow.
So Harmony Radio could be a blueprint for other communities wanting to do something similar.
7th, spark. To ignite something, get it started.
The station sparked new connections in the town.
Number 8, broadcast. Sending out signals, radio, TV, online.
Their whole aim was to broadcast local content. Pretty straightforward.
9th, engage. To attract and hold interest.
They wanted shows that would truly engage the community, keep them listening.
And the last one, number 10, resonate. When something connects deeply, feels meaningful.
Like Jake's warm hug comment, the station clearly resonated with him.
So, 10 useful words, all grounded in that story. And the original podcast apparently had listeners practice using them in sentences.
Yeah, a good active learning task. Which brings us to grammar, another key part of the episode.
Right, the grammar tip. This focused on ellipsis and substitution, especially for the tougher IELTS listening sections 3 and 4.
These are important because, well, they're kind of grammatical shortcuts speakers use. If you don't catch them, you might miss the exact meaning.
Okay, so let's break it down. Ellipsis first. That's leaving words out.
Exactly. Leaving out words that are understood from the context keeps speech flowing. The example was, some supported Ava, others didn't.
Meaning, others didn't support her. The support her is implied.
Precisely. Saves repeating yourself.
Okay. And substitution. Using shorter words instead of repeating longer phrases.
Yep. Using words like do, so, one. The example was, Ava planned the station, and Ethan did too.
Where did stands for plan the station.
Exactly. So listening for these helps you track agreement, disagreement, connections between ideas.
Crucial for comprehension questions then.
Absolutely. Especially in discussions or lectures, the source gave more examples linked to the story.
Like?
The station engaged listeners, and the festival did too. Did two substitutes engaged listeners.
Okay, another.
An ellipsis one. Some wanted music shows, others didn't, meaning didn't want them.
Got it. Any more substitution examples?
Ava believed in the project, and so did Mr. Lopez. So did means believed in the project too.
And one about learning. Happytalk.in helps with listening, and so does practice.
Right. And another ellipsis, some prefer podcasts, others don't. You understand prefer them is left out.
And one last substitution. Ava led the project, and Ethan did too.
Yeah. And they pointed out a key trap. Mishearing do or don't, like I don't think so, shows disagreement, not agreement. Subtle but important.
Very subtle. And again, the original podcast encouraged practice with these.
This is those little grammar cues that make a big difference at higher levels.
Definitely. Okay, now for the real nuts and bolts. The IELTS listening strategies they shared. Loads of tips here. First up, identifying paraphrased information.
This is huge for IELTS listening, especially sections 2, 3, and 4. The questions almost never use the exact same words as the audio. It's all about paraphrasing.
So you need skills to spot when the meaning is the same, even if the words are different. What were the strategies? 4 of them.
4 key ones, yeah. First, spot synonyms. Listen for words with similar meanings. Question says goal. Audio might say aim or purpose.
Like, the station's goal was unity might become, its aim was to connect people.
Exactly. Think concepts, not just words. Second strategy.
Catch rephrasing. When a whole idea is expressed differently.
Right. Like, cost a lot could be heard as required significant funds. Different words, same core idea.
So, understanding the overall point, what's number 3?
Focus on meaning. Don't get stuck trying to match word for word. What's the speaker really saying?
Good advice. Avoid getting lost in the weeds. And the 4th strategy for paraphrasing.
Practice with lectures. Section 4 is usually a lecture, and they paraphrase heavily. Get used to that academic style. Happytalk.in apparently has drills for all this.
And they mentioned a student, Priya.
Yeah, scored 7.5 after focusing on paraphrasing. Shows it works.
Okay, next big tip. Recognizing rhetorical devices. This sounds more advanced, maybe for band 7+ DAC.
That's right. Things like metaphors, exaggeration. Speakers use them for emphasis or impact, especially in lectures, like in section 4. Understanding them helps you get the speaker's attitude or main point.
So again, 4 strategies to sharpen the skill.
Yep. First, spot metaphors. Comparisons without like or as. The example was calling the station a bridge to unity.
It's not a real bridge, but it connects people. You need the implied meaning.
Exactly. Second, catch exaggeration. When speakers overstate things for effect.
Like saying, it changed everything.
Right. You need to recognize its emphasis, not necessarily literal truth. Third,
note repetition. Repeating words or phrases.
Like saying community, community, community really hammers home the importance.
Makes sense. And the final strategy here.
Practice academic tones. Listen to lectures. Get used to how these devices are used for clarity or persuasion. Again, happytalk.in has resources.
And another success story, Ethan.
Yeah, scored an 8.0, apparently focused on these rhetorical device tasks.
Great. Moving on, following lecture structure in section 4.
Crucial for section 4. It's usually one long talk, structured like a mini lecture. Intro, points, conclusion. Following that structure helps you track the main ideas.
Okay, how do you do that effectively while listening? First strategy.
Catch signposting. Listen for words like firstly, next, in contrast, to conclude. They guide you through the talk.
Like little road signs for the listener. What's next?
Note topic shifts. Be aware when the speaker moves from, say, background information to specific examples, or from one main point to the next.
Distinguishing the big ideas from the supporting details. Third,
Summarize main ideas mentally as you go. Just quickly list the key points in your head. Helps with retention and understanding the overall argument.
active listening. And the fourth strategy,
Practice academic audio. Simple as that. The more lectures you listen to, the more familiar the structures become. They mentioned as a student, Leela, aced Section 4 using these tips.
really practical stuff. Okay, next challenge, handling distractors. Those tricky wrong answers.
Ah, yes, distractors. Especially in multiple choice. They're wrong answers designed to sound plausible, often using words from the audio but not actually answering the question correctly.
So how do you avoid falling to those traps? Strategy 1.
Listen for corrections. Sometimes a speaker corrects themselves. I first thought X, but actually it was Y. Y is usually the answer. X is the distractor.
Pay attention to those self-corrections. Strategy 2.
Ignore early mentions sometimes. A distractor might be mentioned first, but then the speaker clarifies or gives the real answer later. Don't jump too soon.
Patience is key. Third strategy.
For multiple choice, check all options before deciding. Read them all, weigh them against what you heard. Don't just grab the first one that sounds okay.
Thoroughness. And the last one for distractors.
Practice with traps. Use materials specifically designed with distractors to train your ear. HappyTalk.in has drills for this.
And another student, Ravi.
Scored 8.0, yeah. Learn to spot those distractors.
Excellent. Next up, improving note-taking for listening.
Super important for sections 3 and 4 where there's a lot of info, but you can't write everything. You need to be efficient.
So what are the keys to efficient note-taking? First tip.
Use abbreviations and symbols. Develop your own shorthand. Count for community, plus for increase, arrows for cause effect. Saves time.
Makes sense. Second tip.
Focus on keywords. Nouns, verbs, key adjectives. Don't worry about articles or prepositions. Get the core meaning down.
Identify the information anchors. Third.
Organize your notes. Use bullet points, maybe indents, arrows. Make it visually clear how ideas connect. Easier to read back later.
Structure matters. And the final note-taking tip.
Practice live. Take notes while listening to practice recordings. Find a system that works for you under pressure. They mention resources like templates and guides.
And a student, Zara, nailed gap fills using these.
Apparently so. Good notes make gap fills much easier.
Okay, final IELTS listening strategy. Enhancing listening stamina.
Yeah, the test is about 30 minutes straight listening. That takes focus, especially in a second language. You need endurance.
Right. So how do you build that up? First strategy.
Practice full tests. Do complete 30-minute listening sections under timed conditions. Get used to the length.
Simulate the real thing. Second.
Break practice sometimes. Do focused 20-minute listening sessions, then a short break. Build stamina gradually without burnout.
Makes sense. Incremental steps.
Third, stay engaged. Try to visualize what's being said, picture the speakers. Actively fight mind wandering.
Keep that focus sharp. And the last stamina tip.
Simulate conditions. Practice in a quiet place. Use headphones, just like the real test environment. Minimize distractions. HappyTalk.in offers full tests, planners, even mindfulness tips.
And Omar scored 8.0 by working on his stamina.
That's the story, yeah. Shows it's a crucial, often overlooked aspect.
These are all incredibly useful, concrete tips. Okay, let's shift to the Cultural Corner segment. How do they connect Harmony Radio to broader culture?
They talked about community radio days in the U.S., especially mentioned places like Oregon and Vermont.
Like festivals or open days at local stations?
Exactly. Similar to Harmony Radio's launch festival, stations like KBO were mentioned as examples. Open houses, live music, special shows, celebrating local voices.
So it connects directly to the Harmony Radio Stories theme. How does this help with IELTS?
Well, for Speaking Part 3, you often discuss things like media's role, community engagement. Knowing about community radio days gives you a concrete example.
And you could use phrases learned earlier, like fosters connection or amplifies diversity.
Precisely. Plus, you might encounter idioms like tune in or hit the airwaves. And listening-wise,
How does it help listening?
3 ways mentioned. Exposure to diverse accents and vocabulary, picking up informal slang like vibe or chill, and practicing following live, spontaneous dialogue like in Section 3.
So engaging with real local media can be good practice. And HappyTalk.in has cultural guides too.
Yeah, with phrases related to these topics, it adds another layer to your understanding.
Okay, finally, they wrapped up with a listener challenge, getting you, the listener, involved.
Right, the Share a Radio Story Challenge. The idea is you practice speaking, kind of like IELTS speaking part 2.
How does it work?
You imagine hosting a radio show, maybe like one at Harmony Radio, or just describe a broadcast you liked. Speak for about 1-2 minutes.
And they wanted specific things included.
Yeah, try to use one new vocabulary word from the list we covered.
Okay.
An example of ellipsis or substitution, the grammar point, and a phrase from the Harmony Radio story itself, like infectious energy or something.
That's a neat way to tie everything together. What do you do with your story?
Share it with a friend, teacher, maybe the happytalk.in speaking club. Then just write one sentence about how it went, post it on their forum, or just note it down for yourself.
Sounds like good active practice, reinforcing the learning and linking back to that community theme again.
Exactly. Active recall and application.
Okay, so let's wrap up this deep dive. We've journeyed through the Harmony Radio story, seeing how local voices build community.
We picked up 10 useful vocabulary words in context.
Unpacked the grammar of ellipsis and substitution.
And dug deep into a whole set of IELTS listening strategies. Paraphrasing, rhetoric, lecture structure, distractors, note-taking, stamina.
Plus, we touched on the cultural side with community radio days and that listener challenge to get you talking.
It's a lot, but hopefully really useful. We encourage you, listening now, to think about how these pieces fit together for you.
Yeah, how can the Harmony Radio story inspire something in your own community? Which bits of vocab or grammar can you start using?
And which of those IELTS strategies feel most relevant to where you need to improve your listening? Not just for the test, but for any situation.
And maybe a final thought to leave you with. Considering Harmony Radio amplifying local voices and the listening skills needed to truly hear them, what stories aren't being heard in your community? What voices could use a platform? Something to think about.